Today we are going to talk about intuition in everyday life, the importance of it, and how to really utilize intuition. Um, and one of the things is to take the mystery out of it, to recognize that we're all wired to be able to do intuition as one of our six senses. And everyone I know has an intuitional story, whether they realize it or not. Oftentimes it's just something that comes really just kind of really in the background, a quiet little voice or quiet thought or quiet feeling that somebody acts on, and then it changes everything. And so, so by being inquisitive to really look within your own self to see when intuition is important. And as I was getting ready to do this, this video, my dog was going back and forth and really making it really hard to do. So I decided I was going to do intuition with this and feel whether this is the right time to do this or how to be with this. And as I settled in my own self and really asked for clarity and really held that space, my dog decided to lay down and be quiet, and I was able to really proceed forward. So intuition can be with small things like that, or huge life decisions that you may really feel a need to. To get that. So intuition has been around forever, as long as we've been around, and people back in the days when they were really living off the land would rely on intuition for their own survival, or really for their safety, for even the planting and cycles. So everything really is about following it and listening to it. And so before I talk about the different ways to access it, I want to talk about the study that was done, and it was done with underprivileged community members. And the study was on the ones who got out of. What did they do? How did people who really worked and built their lives, how were they able to get out of that life into a more prosperous one, a healthier one for them, versus the ones that didn't? And what they found was that the common ingredient, we'll say, that the ones that did get out was called internal locus of control. Internal locus of control is when you really believe inside yourself that you can move forward. You can receive intuition. You can follow that. External locus of control was found oftentimes in the ones that were stuck in that community and couldn't get out of that community. An external locus of control is a mindset of believing others will do that for you. So by developing a stronger sense of internal locus of control, yes, I can receive intuition, I can get the guidance, really helps build on that. And then you work towards different ways by questioning. And one of the best ways that I have found works with me when I have decisions or information I need that I might have emotions with is regarding, I use dreams. So if I when I was I have a dream. When I was single for a long time, I was kind of whining in my inner self about where's my partner, and so I decided to ask in a dream, to be shown in a dream where my partner was, and I wasn't very clear about that, but that's how I asked. That's what I got. So in the dream, I had a dream about a health food store that I regularly shopped at, and so I thought, my partner's I'm gonna meet him in the store, and so every time I went in, I was looking around, not every time, but enough. Well, it turns out that years later, from that dream, I met my husband, who through Match.com, not through the health food store, who owned it. at that time. So he owned it. So I wasn't clear in my asking, and therefore I didn't have a clear understanding of the answer. And because of that, I went off into all these tangents about where is he, who is he him, and did not need to spend all that time. So one of the things is when you ask before you go to sleep about a question, you ask that it be shown to you that it's in your dream and that you remember the answer and understand it. You don't have to understand the dream. You don't have to remember the dream. You just have to remember the answer and understand it. By accessing that, because I use dreams a lot, especially with emotional things like partner or children, different things. I use my dreams to help understand that. So back to the internal locus of control. If you believe in an external source of information, whether it's you think guides or teachers or angels, you can still bring that to the internal, or God, bring that internal. I see God as within, but some see it out, and whether it's in or out, it's about bringing it inside you and believing to access that information from within. Another thing is just ask questions. Be inquisitive. Recently I was in a sauna and I asked what was my next step? What was I supposed to do in my next step? Because that's what I ask regularly. And I have found my life to be quite a journey. I was guided to foster kids, to adopt children, to do the intuitional work, to marry my husband. And so my life has been guided. And even 41 years ago, I was guided to get sober, go in a rehab. And I've been sober 41 years. So when you follow that, it takes you into a life that maybe you couldn't have imagined. And that's why I really believe in it, because I wouldn't be who or what I am doing in my life without the guidance guiding me. And so ask questions. Ask regularly, should I do this? So I was in the sauna and I'm asking, okay, what's my next step? What do I do? Because I really feel drawn that something was calling me. And what I got was to be a guardian ad litem. In some states it's called CASA, and what the court-appointed special advocate, and what that is an advocate for foster kids, court-appointed. So I called the next day thinking, I don't know, but and as I was talking about all my experience, I realized that I was a perfect fit for them, and that this was what I was meant to do. And sometimes I question it, like, really, is this what I want to do? Is this what I meant to do? It's not about what I want to do, and that's the difference. People are attracted to what they want to do. If you follow intuition, sometimes it's what you're meant to do, and it's not what you think you want to do. And another intuitional experience, and this came in a dream. So dreams are really important, and a lot of people say, I don't remember my dreams. Well, you can. You can intentionally hold that. When I was younger, Edgar Casey, I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, but some people are. He's back in the 30s, I think, or 40s. He was called the Sleeping Prophet, and he'd go to sleep and he'd have all these, somebody would ask him questions and he'd have these psychic experience, sayings. So I read him and when I was a teenager, and found that I wanted to use my dreams. I wanted to remember my dreams, and I didn't at that time. So I would sit with the tape recorder. Back in those days, they had tape recorders next to my bedside, and wake up from a dream, and I'd talk gurgle. Blah, 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 this happened, and I listened to it and couldn't understand a single word because I was half asleep. So then I started moving to writing my dreams. And I don't know how long I had to do that before I just started remembering them better. And so it's about wanting to. It's about believing you can, the internal locus of control, or the Thomas the Train that could. But it's the more that we know we can access this information, the more we have guidance, and really follow it. Have the courage to follow it. Some of it's scary stuff. I mean, when I was guided to adopt 4 kids and then a year later 5 with my first husband, it was very not like, okay, but because I have enough experience at that point that when I followed guidance, even if I didn't understand it, it would oftentimes lead to a more positive journey. I followed it. Well, it was really difficult during some years, and I look back through that time. At that time, I wondered, did I follow the intuition correctly? and absolutely, I have incredible life journey. I have incredible relationship with most of my kids, and it's been a lot of learning and growing for me. So sometimes we get guided to do things that we might think that we think is going to take us one way, and that actually in truth it takes us in another direction that's maybe more challenging, but far better for our life, our being, our soul, because we're you've heard this, we've never given more than what we can handle. And at that time I didn't think that was true, but I followed it, and indeed it has led me to a greater, more fulfilling life. So asking questions, should I, and taking minutes to listen to that. And I apologize about my cat talking in the background. I'm going to take a second and I'll be right back.